there yapping away, just talking, asking how everybody's day is, and everything in between. Which I'm sure I annoyed a pretty good bit of people, but that's just how I am. So,
Well, sometimes there can be good friendships among the women in
hmm
sport. Sometimes, yeah, there is that bit of cattiness. Some
hmm
women can have that. Even though as an amateur, you're an amateur just like you, but sometimes it's that mindset. You
hmm
have to be open to somebody new and be friendly. Because, like I said, this is
right.
your first show, and it'd be nice to
hmm
say, hey, welcome, how you doing?
hmm
Like I said, it's a competitive sport,
right.
and sometimes competition really comes out. Sometimes the worst come out people when they're
hmm
competing. Here we got a couple people just popped in. We got my man here, Balls Deep. Shout out to Balls Deep. He's coming through. He says this. I could use that slow. He says,
What's
"What up
up?
and salute." Thank you, brother. Also, he says, you guys just get a little slow because I think the weather been fun with my end too. Merry holidays, thank you, brother. He also says another one of his famous quotes. He likes to say, "Chicago in here." Shout out to you, brother, Chicago. Also, he says, "Smash the like button." Appreciate that, brother. And also, the last one, he says, this is his famous one. He says, Schmo gang, and he admitted where I am part of that gang because I am a schmo. When I got into this is before you were born. You
Uh-huh.
weren't just a trick on your daddy's eye.
Yeah.
And I've been following Bobby for a long time. I
hmm
mean, going back to when Arnold was in the game, and guys like Lee Haney and guys like Dorian Yates, and then when I got a little bit into my teenage years and got a little more pubescent, then women like Corey Everson and also Iris Kyle and some of those kind of they excited me. They
hmm
just sometimes they brought that a little side out of me. That's that guy they can please me.
yeah.
And it's really a lot of work. So, who's your
hmm
coach and how long y'all been together?
So my coaches have seen this year. We've been together for it'll be a year around New Year's. We started together around literally New Year's this past year. So we'll be together officially for a year, which is awesome. Also, because I'm a firm believer that the longer you're with the coach, the more you're gonna learn. Your body and everything. So we're just gonna keep getting better. So he actually honestly being coached by him was so surreal for me also even when I first got with him. He was one of the first coaches I had ever followed 15, 16 years old, because of Alyssa Kiesling. She was one of the top bodybuilders I always looked up to, and was introduced to really early on, and I saw who she was coached by. So I actually DM'd. I was leaving my prior coach and shot Hasina DM and said, hey, I'd love to be coached by you if you have spots open. And it was history from there on. I trust him with my life. I feel like I have to, and I do. But I have a good bit of faith that we're gonna do some great things in the sport. So I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of his girls, but they're crazy. So
I, Nasir is someone I'm very familiar with. He's one
mhm,
I would say one of the top guys, especially for women in bodybuilding. I mean,
mhm,
he one time he was coaching Hella Trevino.
mhm,
That was back in it was back in 2022. No, it was
mhm,
2021 when Hella was with Shelby Starnes. Then she
yeah,
switched over to Nasir, and then she
mhm,
got second that year
mhm,
at the Olympia.
yep,
Because
she sure
it was
did.
I think it was yeah, and there's so many ladies. I've got in the back of my head, but there's so many of them. He has a stack of
Mhm,
lists. I mean, top competitor. I mean, I think you got a good coach. I mean, like I said, coach relationships is important for a
mhm,
competitor. You don't want to
yeah,
get in bodybuilding without getting the right coach. Sometimes it's hard to do
right,
it on your own, and you
yes,
need that critique,
mhm,
and you need that what things you might miss that he can see.
mhm. Right, exactly. And one big thing is he wants to keep me healthy. We won't, longevity in this sport. So we want, I want to have, a dynasty going eventually. So, big things about, keeping me healthy. Like I'm young, so we don't want to rush. But yeah, he's got a lineup for sure. But one of the first things he asked or like said was like, would you do 4 years with me? And I was like, yes, of course. Like, and so it takes time to build a good relationship with a good coach, but also I feel like we should give coaches a little bit more give too because they do a lot, and I appreciate my coach so much for that. Like he's awesome.
That's good. Like I said, she's young. Like my man Jerome would say, she's still, she's still wet behind the ears and breath smell like
Yeah,
Similac. So,
yeah,
that's my man Jerome, the international player from the Himalaya. So yeah,
yeah.
that's it. You want to, because this sport can be a lot,
Mhm,
mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. It can
mhm.
drain you, and it's good to try to find a way to just keep longer because there's some ladies that come in, they burn out. They hit
Right.
like you come in like a flaming hot and then burn out no
Mhm.
more than in a year. And
Right.
sometimes every now and then you get phenoms who come in and
Mhm.
just do amazingly. I just interviewed a young lady who she was also at nationals, got a pro card, and this was her first nationals. It was
Mhm.
her first year competing,
Yeah.
and it's tough. Just putting time
Mhm.
to work and get to that level.
Yeah, especially for women's bodybuilding and women's physique, because it takes time for us to get that muscle on. I've been training, bodybuilding specifically and on meal plans now for 5, almost 6 years. Although I was a young and starting out, like still counts a little bit, but like it takes a lot to be in those divisions and not to take away from bikini or wellness or any figure any of those categories, but to put the significant amount of muscle mass on that we have as women bodybuilders, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot.
hmm Well, like I said, with women's bodybuilding, which is, I would say, it's the division that started everything. It wasn't for women's
Hmm.
bodybuilding, fitness would be around, figure wouldn't be around,
Hmm.
even physique would have existed. With
Right.
with um wellness and bikinis, they were brought in. Yeah, excuse
Hmm.
me, no offense, I have interviewed some bikini competitors, pros and
Hmm.
amateurs. It's an invasive species in my mind, in my opinion, as a division.
Yeah.
It wasn't really part of it, but it has evolved with it. Right now, they try to start that fit model shit. I don't know why. Because
Yeah,
what's going to
I'm
happen,
not too much of
it's
a
going to
fan.
evolve like the other division. Yeah, I
Yes.
tell you, it don't make sense because you think about it. Instead of this, instead of this, is tomorrow I have a podcast. We're going to talk about that. I have my most talk Monday. I talk about that. Instead of this, why not fix the problem? You created the vision with these criteria. Stick with the plan that was really set for. Instead of, I
Right.
know you ever heard of this movie. It's a movie called Scarface with Al Pacino. And there's a
Hmm.
part in the movie where they go to, you remember the part where you go see the Colombians and they kill his
Yes.
friend Angel and they're about
Yeah.
to, and they're cut up Scarface like Big Pun. They're about to perform surgery with a chainsaw. But, but that's what you're supposed to do. Be more precise with your surgery. Fix the problem
Right.
within instead of trying
Right.
to bring something on it. Because that's, just, it's better to do that than trying to just
Hmm.
throw some on top of it and just make
Yeah.
a more of a mess.
Right. And yeah, and I agree completely. I know it's a marketing strategy also because the women's body the like we do need more money coming in, but I just don't want like these smaller divisions and everything to take away from women's bodybuilding. That's the biggest fear for me. I don't want us to be pushed out. Like it'll be very deteriorating to, watch our division slowly fade away, and that's why like I'm trying to push so hard and try to create a good community like behind the women's bodybuilding divisions and everything. I want us to like be popular again, like um when that era of like Bev Francis and all those upcomings, like that was a freaking crazy era, and I want it to like come back again. I want like people to be like, oh, did you see this girl? Like just how they talk about C-bomb or things of that sort. Like I want that to be kind of like a women's bodybuilding thing too.
Yeah, I think one person that really, and I always gonna say this because I'm a fan of hers. She's
Mhm.
so beautiful. She's so most the lady that kind of really, emphasize femininity and muscularity is
Mhm.
Andrea Shaw. I have
Yes.
to. She is just amazing.
Yes.
I like I said, just great look, great style, great
Mhm.
muscle. I'm a fan.
Right.
I mean, every time I can't help myself, Casey. Anytime I talk about, because she's my girlfriend. So anytime I talk about her,
She's
I go back.
amazing.
I pull out this. I pull
Yes.
out this because a friend of mine, she was at the Olympia back in 2023, and got her this. She got this, and Andrea. This is why, like my other guy says, if you're getting something, never do it free. This is my payment. I was. This is a payment for me when
Yeah.
she takes a time out, somebody you don't even know
Mhm.
signs this and tells she appreciates my support. Because that's why this is why I started this channel because I was taking care of my mom for a long time. She was sick,
Mhm.
and this was something to help me. But then when she left, she passed. I said, you know what? I need a purpose, and
Mhm.
this is why I talk about ladies like yourself, the uppercomers, the
Mhm.
stars, the ones who have their boots on the ground. One
Mhm.
of these days I would love Andre to be on here. I would love it. I don't know. I might act like a little girl in springtime. She does, but yourself, like I said, I did saw the pictures from the Nationals, and you were impressive. And I felt like you have a good future.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I've worked really, really hard for, to be where I am at this age for sure. I mean, the biggest thing, like takeaways from nationals, I would have loved to be a little bit more conditioned. I think that's genuinely what they were kind of looking for. Mass wise and everything, I held my ground very, very well. I had pretty good bit of mass compared to the two girls that placed above me. But they just look great. Like they were just shredded, like shredded glutes, everything of that sort. Which I came in there pretty dialed, but they were just absolutely insane. But mass wise, I think I had them a little bit, but definitely that conditioning, which um, like they kind of said, like you can't always reward conditioning, but when you have girls up there that are coming in with feathered glutes and still a decent amount of mass, it's hard to not reward that. So I have no bad blood at all. Placing third my first national show at 21 years old. I mean, I couldn't be anything less than like excited.
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing both Natalie Miller, who
Hmm.
won
Yes,
the
Natalie.
body
Yeah.
event overall, and also Dana Perez.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Dana Perez, who placed second in women's body, but she did get a
Yes.
pro card win physique. Both
Hmm.
nice young ladies and very impressive. I think they have a lot of
Yes.
potential. And you also too. So what we do, folks, is while we got her here and we're talking with Casey, we're going to jump into her social media for a little bit on her IG. If you want to follow her, her links are in the description of this live stream. Check her out. Support these ladies. They can really use that support. Be it just
Hmm.
a hello or say good job, just any reassurance. But guys and Nelly, this is a disclaimer, and I don't say this to offend you, but guys out there, no D pics. Stop it. Get some help. What's wrong with you? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Get some help. Yes, yeah. So we're gonna jump into her social media here for a bit. I'm gonna pull up here in a second. Yeah. There we go. And here we are. And this is right here. This is a picture from the Nationals. And what was that feeling like for you? You look, I mean, tell you look really amazing. This is, I think, Glenn, what's his face, took all these pictures at the show. What was that feeling being up there on stage?
It was just so awesome. Like once you obviously I was very, very nervous. Prejudging, I was so nervous. But once we got to finals, I did my routine and everything. I was much more settled down. But it was honestly like coming from, obviously these amateur, shows like regionals and everything to nationals, I felt like I was supposed to be there. Although I had like these feelings that like, oh, I'm so young because everyone around me is like 30 years old or so. I'm just this little child just like walking around backstage. I felt like, but also like looking at these girls beside me, I was like, I feel like I'm actually supposed to be here to an extent. They looked massive, and then the fact that also like I held my ground against them, I was like, okay, maybe I'm a little bigger than I give myself credit for, a little better than I give myself credit for. But it was just so awesome. Like being up there, it made me just fall in love with the sport even more because it's hard to, you know, before I competed and got on stage and stepped up there for the first time, it was really hard, to like, see the vision. But I kept the vision in hindsight, and always kept my head forward and knew what I wanted to do and wanted it to be. Um, so I think finally getting on stage and just being at that national level in my first season, it was just so surreal, so awesome.
You remind me of a young lady who about age, she was like a top competitor. Tina Lockwood, if you ever heard of her. I mean, she
Yes,
was,
yes.
I think she was like in her early 20s, huge, amazing. Cancer point, she never got her pro card.
Hmm.
She kind of was like the Bobby Fischer for bodybuilders. She came in with so much potential, but then she just disappeared. And here we are
Right.
training. And when
Mhm.
you're training, what's that workout that really you get into the gym? You are look for a workout, and then one says, "Shit, why I gotta do this today?"
Well, my favorite workouts are, I'm which sounds crazy, but I love a leg day.